Welcome to Orn Oth's Bedtime Stories. Tonight's story, Orn Oth's Introduction to Halloween, written by Orn Oth the Dragon and read by Orn Oth the Dragon. One fine autumn day, a little orange leaf fell from its tree. It fluttered as it fell, and danced across the air until at last it landed on the snout of Orn Oth the baby silver dragon. He sneezed and opened his eyes as the leaf blew off his nose and onto the ground. Orn Oth yawned, curling the tip of his tongue as he stretched his little legs and wings, and then stood up. Orn Oth had spent the night sleeping under the stars in a forest where he could see the sky without other lights washing it out. Now that it was morning, though, he decided that he wanted some friends to play with, and decided to head for the city. Orn Oth climbed a great big tree and waddled out onto one of the branches. He spread his little wings and took to the air to fly out to the city, to find some of his friends and to have some fun. However, when Orn Oth got there, he noticed that things were different. Several houses had decorations, and some of the people that were walking around were dressed in costumes. Orn Oth had never seen anything like this before.
"This is weird. Why does everything look so spooky today?"
Orn Oth queried. It was then that a bat flew up to Orn Oth and started circling his head.
"Wee, wee, it's Halloween Eve today," it squeaked.
"What is that?" Orn Oth asked the bat. The bat landed on Orn Oth's head and leaned over to look him in the eyes.
"You have never heard of Halloween before?" the bat gasped.
"Nope. Is it like a hot dog?" Orn Oth responded. The bat laughed at the question.
"No, silly, it's not a food. It is a holiday, a big party, lots of fun," the bat squeaked with joy. "My name is Candy, and I know who will show you. Come with me," the bat said as it fluttered into the air.
Orn Oth opened his little wings and jumped into the air, following Candy as she flew over the streets and houses into the middle of the city to a medium-sized house. The two of them landed on the porch, and Candy announced,
"This is the place."
The house didn't look much different than the other houses that they had passed to Orn Oth, but Orn Oth was smart enough to know that things are not always what they seem. Still, when Candy rang the doorbell and a witch answered the door, Orn Oth did feel a tiny bit intimidated. "Hello, dearie, what is your name?" the witch asked.
It's Orn Oth,"
Orn Oth said. "What brings you to my door?" the witch asked. Orn Oth took a deep breath.
"I want to know what Halloween is," he blurted out.
The witch kneeled down and put her hands out. "Oh, dearie, come here. I will help you to understand," she said. Orn Oth hesitated for a moment, then waddled forward and climbed into her hands. The witch stood up and carried him inside. Orn Oth had never seen the inside of a house before, but this was not what he had expected. He had thought that the inside of the witch's house would be full of spooky, scary things, but it had soft-looking chairs and a couch and lights. The witch carried him into her kitchen and set him down on her table next to a large plastic cauldron. "Look into the cauldron, and I will show you all about Halloween," the witch instructed. Orn Oth looked at the cauldron and then up at the witch.
"You are not going to try to eat me, are you?" he asked.
The witch's eyes widened. "Oh, goodness, no, dearie. I'm not even a real witch. I'm just a grandma named Hazel. It's all part of the holiday." Orn Oth was still not entirely sure, but he climbed up and peered in. Hazel turned off the overhead light and picked up a little remote. The bottom of the cauldron had a hole cut out and replaced with clear plastic, and under it was a small projector that shined an image up into the water, which made a screen, and Orn Oth could see images flash one at a time about Halloween. Hazel explained that Halloween is a day that people dress up in costumes and go around trick-or-treating. Orn Oth was mesmerized by the idea, and the more she told him about it, the more Orn Oth's fear was replaced by excitement.
"Can I wear something too?"
Orn Oth asked. Of course, dearie, but we need to get you a costume first, Hazel said.
No need, I has one right here,
Orn Oth said, waddling over to the other side of the table. Orn Oth reached into a bag and pulled out a large hot dog bun. He then jumped in, and as he lay in the bun, he exclaimed,
"Aye, a hot dog!"
Hazel giggled. You silly dragon, that bread is not a costume. Hazel gave Orn Oth a proper hot dog costume to borrow. She had all kinds of costumes that she had for her grandchildren when they came to visit, and even some for their puppy. When they arrived, Orn Oth was pleasantly surprised to see his friend Fuji, a little black Labrador puppy. Orn Oth joined into their little party and had fun trick-or-treating with them for hours until the sun started to go down. Then the trick-or-treaters started to bring out flashlights and glow sticks. Little squeaks overhead announced that Candy had come back and brought her little bat friends.
"I have been waiting for this all day long," Candy called.
Orn Oth looked around and everything became even more spooky and fun in the dark.
"Yo, Omi, don't break away from the group. We don't want to get lost," Fuji warned.
So Orn Oth continued with his friends, while the bats circled overhead, celebrating their own way. Soon enough, Orn Oth and his friends finished their trick-or-treating and returned to Hazel's house. Orn Oth had more candy than he could carry by himself, and had no idea what to do with it all.
"Now that we have all this treasure, what do we do with it?" Orn Oth asked.
"Well, first we need to check all of it to make sure that it's safe, and then you can eat some of it," Hazel smiled. Orn Oth looked over all the treats wrapped in neat packages. He wasn't sure about the idea of eating it. He had never tried any of these things before. While Hazel checked the candy and removed anything that was not properly packaged, the rest of the group had some dinner. Fuji explained to Orn Oth that eating candy on an empty stomach could result in a tummy ache. The children also traded out the candy that Fuji had collected with dog treats because they were better for him than anything else, and explained that many of the things that are fine for humans and dragons are not good for dogs. Fuji didn't mind at all and enjoyed his dog treats while the children ate some of their treats. Orn Oth was tired and decided that tomorrow would be better for trying these exotic new treats. Since it was dark out, Hazel let Orn Oth sleep on the back of one of the soft chairs, while the children's parents came and picked them and Fuji up and took them home for the night. The next day, after breakfast, Orn Oth helped Hazel to clean up the house, and then she put all his candies into a small plastic bucket shaped like a pumpkin. Orn Oth giggled at the face that was on his bucket and thanked Hazel for it. Then he took his candy treasure and waddled off down the sidewalk. Orn Oth walked and walked, and when he got to the edge of the city he tried to fly, but the little bucket was too heavy for him to lift off the ground.
"Well, I suppose this is as good a time as any to try one of these," Orn Oth said to himself.
Before opening his first piece of candy, Orn Oth found a trash can to put the wrappers in, because he did not want to make a mess. Then he looked over some of the treats and chose to try a small chocolate bar. Orn Oth's eyes went wide. "This is super nums," Orn Oth whispered to himself, and then dived into the small bucket. The end.